into raging rapids.
4 young children were killed in one car, suddenly caught up in the raging water.
The rising waters trapped the family's minivan against a highway barrier.
In a matter of minutes, Robert Rogers lost everything Saturday night on a dark...
Savor every single precious minute with your spouses and children. Hug and kiss them every day, every morning and every evening. Tell them over and over how much you love them. Snuggle with them at bedtime. Place your hand on their heads and bless them every day as I did. I miss them dreadfully. It still sometimes feels surreal. Like, did this really happen? They're very close, and eternity is very close to me. And I have a sense that this separation is very temporary. But they are a part of me, and they always will be. And so their presence is very real. But I still ask the question, why? I still wonder why, and wrestle with God with that. But I'm comforted that even Jesus on the cross asked that question, my God, why? And yet, he had the attitude, not my will, but yours be done. And I'll even step to the night before, because it was a typical fun family Friday night. I was a real hands-on dad. I mean, I lived to come home. I didn't live to work. I worked so I could live. Started some pizzas in the oven and ran to the store and got some Scooby-Doo videos and made some popcorn and just had a great family night. And it was, in a way, ironic that we had another one of those, because we lived our lives with what I call no regrets. Having 2 special needs kids, we learned that every moment is precious. And so we live for moments like that. Yes, it took a lot of work to bring all of our kids into this world, but it was such a joy to have them living and thriving. And we had one of the best summers we had, because we pulled back from a lot of our extracurriculars and other activities just so we could have popsicles on our front porch. She was 33. I had met her in college. After pursuing music for a couple years in college, I figured I'd better do something practical to support a family someday. So I switched gears and started electrical engineering in Cincinnati. And part of that was a co-op program where I would work as an intern and travel to Boston for 6 months at a time. So I spent a year and a half of my curriculum there, and during that time I'd play piano downtown at a sidewalk cafe. And Melissa was from Kansas, so here I am, a city boy from Cincinnati. She's a country girl from Kansas, a little town called Hiawatha, small farm town. She grew up as a farmer's daughter. And she had a wonderful set of family around her, but she needed to find out who in the world she was. When she was 18, she left to really discover herself. She became a nanny for 3 small kids. And she and her friends were walking around downtown one day and heard me playing piano. And she came by and sat down and just started talking. And she got a $5 bill and put it in a tip cup on a piano. And ever since then said, that's the best $5 I ever spent. Actually, we had met my 2nd year there, and in my 3rd year there was when we started going out. And we had ice cream on our first date, and that was really what kicked it into gear, because we both had a deep passion and love for ice cream. And we fell deeply in love. I proposed to her on New Year's Eve in Cincinnati of 1990 on a riverboat. And 1 year later, we got married on New Year's Eve at St. Lawrence Church, Price Hill, Cincinnati. And so we moved to California, and that was my first job offer out in Silicon Valley. A few years into that, we gave birth to McKenna. And we had always laid our hands on Melissa's tummy and prayed for our baby for a smooth delivery. And even then, it was testing our faith. And we were saying, why, God, why? I thought we could ask and we would receive. And it's not like Coca-Cola Christianity. You don't put a quarter in and get out exactly the button you always think you'll get. But that stretched our faith. And when we saw what a beautiful child McKenna was, we learned a lesson then, just that through incredible suffering and difficulty comes incredible beauty. And so that was part of the initial fabric of our stepstones of faith. We really wanted to be closer to our parents in the Midwest, and so we picked up and moved to Kansas City and bought our very first home, and life was beautiful. A few months later, gave birth to our second child, and he was born with no epidural, no drugs. And his name was Zachary. And we never learned the gender of any of our kids until they were born. We just wanted it all to be a surprise. But he had another surprise waiting for us, and that was the next day when the doctors came. And they kept doing these tests, and the nurses would come and take him to x-ray and this and that, and he wasn't having his normal bowel movement and all that. And we said, "What's going on?" And the nurse said, "Well, didn't the doctor tell you?" We're like, "Tell us what?" He said, "I better go get the doctor." And so she came in and she said, "Mr. and Mrs. Rogers, we believe your son has Down syndrome." And boy, to us, that was a huge blow. To a father especially who has all these dreams for his son to be, you know, this big guy and football player and drive someday and get married and have children, and suddenly all those dreams were dashed. And we knew nothing about it. We had to become educated quickly about Down syndrome. Is it a disease? Does it go away? What are the implications? All of that. And again, it was like a baseball bat to my gut. And I loved my son from the beginning and grew to love him even more because of those times of rocking him in the middle of the night and helping him through his aspiration and through his cough and therapies and so many trials. He had good gross motor skills and muscle tone, but he had a colostomy bag, and he was autistic, and so he would shake a lot and bang his head against the wall and things that could just drive you bananas, and at times they did. I came home and Melissa would say, "Here, he's yours, I gotta go to the store." But we embraced him, and we learned again that through incredible tragedy comes great triumph, if you embrace it. It was a bittersweetness. It was so difficult. We were so exhausted just from caring for him. And yet it was so sweet because we were so tightly woven together with him and with God, because we were praying healing over him. I mean, I still believe God's in the business of healing. Not necessarily that the Down syndrome would go away, but he had terrible pneumonia. He had terrible complications, and he had thyroid imbalance and all sorts of complications, and just that he wouldn't catch the flu and this and that and stay healthy, which was tough for him. But it brought us together as a family through our choices, because many parents, many fathers especially, they jump ship. How much more do your special needs kids just need their dad around? I believe, you know, the father is in a sense a priest of the family, and that we're to cover our family with that soothing oil of God's word, which cleanses, which heals, which renews. We made every intention and effort to go on dates every month. And that was tough with special needs kids especially, to find the right babysitter. I would do something about every 3 or 4 months for Melissa, which I called Mom's Weekend Out. Just go to a hotel and just have some sanity time. Write little notes to each other. We had a little game called Schmilly, S-H-M-I-L-Y. And we would write those letters on a note and stuff it in a pillow. She'd write it on a banana and stuff it in my lunch. We'd write it with shaving cream on the bathroom wall, you know, just little things. And it stands for See How Much I Love You. Just something we had read in a book from Focus on the Family that was a unique game that this couple had played all their lives. And we just thought we'd play it. And then our little daughter McKenna joined in the fun, and she would write it on notes and hide it. And she would hold Zachary. And so it was very contagious with our kids. Even the sign language and learning about Zachary and Mama and Dad and things became endearing and became well, other people noticed when we would go to the grocery store. They would just see a piece about our children and a love between them, because it took so much to get them here.